Chapter 11, Infiltration. This is Ninja Gaiden 4 on Master Ninja difficulty. What is up everyone, it is me DevilNeverCry, and you join me once again for what is definitely not a walkthrough, but perhaps a meandering through, a frolic, a stroll across the path that is Ninja Gaiden 4. Heading back into the heart of the DDO, which technically the Divine Dragon Order are the good guys, but you know, we're Yakumo. We have a bit of edge to us. Perhaps not edging, that's a different term entirely, you know. Siri fans out there, but I digress. It's interesting to see such a nice change of pace environment-wise. You know, understandably the game's dark, drab, bleak, so it hits you with the brick that is that ending scene with the clear blue skies, but it gets a little bit tiresome after a while. If you haven't seen the concept art for this game, particularly the environmental concept art, I'd definitely go and check it out. Platinum Games were posting about it in the lead up to this game's launch and even post-launch. Some of the character art though in particular as well is really, really cool. Nice amount of detail. As we get the decapitation, we brandish the Dark Dragon Blade and go to town. So this encounter is not skippable. Keep that in mind, which is exactly why we're doing this. And it's quite weird to see such a simple encounter after the absolute cascade of madness that this game threw at us in some of the previous chapters. A little bit almost like a reset. Technically the next chapter is, I guess you could say, the ultimate chapter for Yakumo, even though we're halfway through the game. But that's fine. Certainly took me a little bit by surprise, especially considering this mission, or I should say, sorry, chapter is a bit of a breeze, and then that the next one is just a weird jump up in difficulty, but it's fine. It's fine. We'll push our way through. We cock up the UT there though, which is not great, as we split that man's. Oh no, we didn't split his head open. Good old Azuna drop. Speaking of Azuna drops though, there's been a lot of discourse surrounding this game recently, particularly when it comes to combos and the like. We absolutely mess up that going through that door, which is actually a good thing. I wasn't going to keep this section, but I think I'd just show you guys anyway. If you've missed out on this shrine for whatever reason, you definitely can make your way back up here. It does take a little bit of finessing with the wall run mechanics, but we get there eventually, and we check out the shrine. Wasn't all too much that we needed to get there. I believe I'm looking for a kunai, a Yane's kunai in fact, which we're actually going to find here. But at this point we can't go through this door anymore, it's just locked on us. So that was a bit infuriating, but I digress. Yeah, there's been a lot of interesting discourse surrounding what makes an action title, a good action title, what makes a Ninja Gaiden. I think a lot of that discourse stems from, wow, yeah, that's how I found out this isn't skippable, by the way. A lot of the discourse stems from just the sheer amount of combo potential, I guess, that's in this game that is not necessarily in some of the other Ninja Gaiden titles, which is a fair, I guess, statement to make. I'd definitely say that much. But also from just the sheer ease of getting through this game. I think I've said it before, just anecdotally, like this has been one of the easier Ninja Gaiden titles for me to get through Master Ninja difficulty at that, which, I mean, if we're going to judge this game's design and sort of how it functions, I would probably take it on its merit through Master Ninja. They're very much akin to like how if you're going to judge something like the original DevilMeverCry, you know, you judge it through DMD, which is kind of what, well, at least the first game, that was what was, you know, that's what the game was designed for. And then they scaled back the difficulty for things like normal. But I think you're not really forced to engage with a lot of this game's mechanics realistically until you're on Master Ninja difficulty, and even then, as you're kind of seeing through what essentially here is kind of a casual playthrough, you don't really need to engage to a full extent, considering just what items can do for you, right? And I mean, this is quite easy to tell if you go through this casually like you're seeing here, and then try and go for something like an S rank, or try and do it without the use of items, or if you want to go one step further and maybe you know, use the Death Wish modifier, or perhaps go for an untouchable rank, all these self-imposed restrictions. So yeah, it's been interesting to see some of that discourse. Some of it I think is valid. Some of it I don't potentially agree with, but it definitely has caused a bit of a stir. Whether that's to the betterment or not of the brand, who knows? But again, Platinum Games, Team Ninja have been somewhat quiet regarding this game's sales. So, you know, I like to believe it's done well. You know, we can only hope, right? I think if anything, we need more action and character action games. And then we're going to head on to this encounter, which I believe we can skip through if you're crafty enough. We absolutely cock up the wall run there, which is a bit of a reminder to not take things for granted. You know, Yakumo's not got too many iframes. He's got just enough, but a well-placed shot will take you out. But yeah, that's kind of those encounters kind of dealt with, and I think the main challenge for this chapter in particular is going to be the chariot boss at the end, which we're actually going to do some decent damage to and kind of blitz through with relative little difficulty until we end up getting stun locked into a death state, which you'll see as that happens, but I definitely was not pleased, I'll say that much. More traversal. Honestly, why we need the yellow, I don't know. I'm hoping, well, I say I hope, but I'd imagine if we ever end up getting any more Ninja Gaidens, the yellow will return. This, I think, is an encounter we don't actually need to do. But considering we've not done too many encounters so far, I've decided to keep it in. This can be attributed to a mission. I think it's primarily because I took an extra route on the rail that I didn't need to. But the Kage Hideko put some more to work. And something that I'm not actually doing here, but you'll see me kind of do right towards the end maybe of this series of chapters, is launching people into a guillotine throw directly off the edge of a building. It immediately basically kills them. And most enemies that are kind of humanoid in stature, basically they're vulnerable to this. Things like the Van Gelfs, for example, or some of the almost like mini bosses, you're definitely not going to be able to do it to. But it's quite a cheeky thing to do. The alternative is to use the just frames on the Kage Hideko as I was doing there, because it does launch, and if you juggle the launches enough, you can basically knock them over the barrier, or anywhere where there's a flat edge you can knock them off of. So don't do this either, because it just leads into nothing. Yeah, lots of trial and error in this mission. You can tell I was still I say mission, this chapter. I can't believe we just ate that to the face. But little does that lad know, he's entirely skippable. So there's Yakumo, fully being cucked in front of all the Divine Dragon Order enemies. You can go there to the left if you want to pick up some additional things in those boxes, but you don't need to. If you stray left here, you'll be able to find another Purgatory Gate, but we don't need to go for it. But that actually was the last one for me to grab, because I actually hadn't found it during my initial playthrough. Took me some perusing to eventually find that one. But we're making our way up. And again, kind of just going back on the ease of difficulty, like, I don't think it would have killed them to make some of these encounters mandatory. You know, really push the player, like, even if they have access to a lot of these resources, give them reasons to use it, you know? Make them sweat even if they have this crutch available to them. But instead we get railed, so to speak, which is definitely not what it sounds like. YouTube, don't take this video down. young twink ninja gets railed. Wow, how the mighty have fallen. And there's a couple left, but like, again, would it have killed them to really speed this up with higher difficulties? You know, make this more of a challenge. Like, this barely requires player interaction. You know, it just makes it a bit annoying. I mean, I completely cacked that up, so who am I to talk? But yeah, all of these missiles, from what I can tell, are kind of just like background noise. I don't think they'll actually do anything unless they hit a rail that you're on and they break the rail, but I don't think they can actually hit you, so you don't need to worry about it. And then right at the end of this, we're going to delve straight into the boss fight. The good old chariot. If we don't mess up the old ninja roll at the end of it, and we just dive headfirst into the ground, that would be an ending. So we're going to grab a few items here and we're going to go to town. You can just go and tackle the drills at the start if you want to, but you don't necessarily need to. The drills for the most part are the weak point. Just be careful when it starts doing its spinning move or it starts to go for some of the melee attacks. It can be invulnerable, so just keep that in mind. But yeah, we're not going to struggle too hard for this first initial phase. I mean, we're kind of juiced to the gills here, diced to the nines. He's going to do this, but yeah, we're just going to keep our distance and go to town. Don't try to hit him with a UT while he does this move. I still managed to get blocked there. I thought I'd left it enough time, but I hadn't. We're using the standard attack string there because I want to try and build up my bloodbind gauge. Oof, and we take a bad hit there. But yeah, this is a very, very sloppy but very rushed and aggressive sort of strategy. Like, you don't need to... Well, I certainly don't want to sit around and wait. I should say that much. Which is why we're kind of hitting him point blank with something like that. If I had, again, some of the accessories which increase our bloodbind build-up, would have been great, but nevertheless, we get a parry, and we're kind of good to go. Or so you'd think, at least, until we get hit with that. And then whilst we're in the recovery animation, we get slapped up again, and then blown up before we have a chance to move. So, yeah, I really wasn't happy about that. I really was not happy about that. But that's just Ninja Gaiden in a nutshell. As we get the obliteration there. Take him to the old pound town. Damn. And with that, we come to the end of this video. It has been me, DevilNeverCry. I'd like to thank all of you for watching, and as always, I'll see you all next video.